Hello there, and welcome back to my side project. So we're gonna continue and work on this social network that I'm working right now, and I must admit I'm fairly pleased with what we achieved so far. Unfortunately, I was not able to stream yesterday. There was some problem there, but I still worked on it. So yeah, I'm sorry for working on it off stream, but I actually had to. The idea is that what I achieved yesterday, let's also run the application maybe, because I've implemented some functionality with which I'm pretty much okay. Let's run the application first to just walk you briefly through what I have done, and then what I did yesterday evening or night when I just finished, or when I went to sleep. I just wrote down some ideas of things that I want to still. Let's just log out from here. So I'm here logged in with my user, and here if I go right now on my timeline, it theoretically should be able to see also friends. I see that here, for instance, I just already have a friend here, and here there are the pending friend requests. But if, for instance, I go to the other user, I don't remember right now the username. I just went for Game of Thrones characters. So yeah, we have Arya Stark here, and for instance, you see this here on her profile. I'm not able to see the pending friend requests, because it's only she should be able to see the pending friend requests, and from there she should be able to accept them. But before sending any other friend requests out, I just forgot that I just want to clear some data from the SQL server. So let me just go here a little bit for the I just want to delete the existing friendship, because I want to walk you through the process of adding a friend actually. Okay, but why doesn't this get deleted? Okay, and now this one. Basically, when we create a friend, when we establish a friendship, we basically create a relationship from user A to user B, and then from user B to user A, because they are both friends with each other. When we send a friend request, it actually gets saved in another table in the database. Hello, thanks for joining. Jonas, thank you very much for being here. Okay, so right now I've deleted this type of thing, and what I want to do is let's just walk through this process once more. So let's start the application, because right now when I am logged in, I shouldn't have any friends anymore, because we've just deleted the friends, and I should be able to go through this entire process of creating a friend, and how actually the user has to act that receives the friend request. So yeah, here I am once again logged in as me. Then I go to another user's profile, which in this case it's Arya Stark, and I have the option to send a friend request. So I have sent a friend request, and if I go right now to the database and I want just to refresh this friend requests table, we see that we have a pending friend request from, and this is my user ID, and to, this is the user ID to which I have sent the friend request. So right now, if I log out and log in with the other user to which I have sent a friend request, let's do it like that. It should be this username, and the password should be exactly the same. So right now, if I go here on the timeline, I see that we have this active pending friend request. So if I go here, I see that, okay, somebody has sent me a friend request. So in this case, I am both able to accept it or to reject it. Both actions work. So if I accept it, right now, if you see that it's also updated that I have one friend. I had 0 previously. And if I go on friends, I'm able to also see my friend, of course. And if I go to the user, actually to me, that sent that friend request, then under friends, I see that this user also has one friend, and I can actually see myself there. So that's actually a sign that actually worked. So let me close the application once again and walk you through the reject part of it. And of course, right now, after we accepted a friend request, the initial friend request that was stored here in the database is of course deleted because it's not needed anymore. And here, if we refresh the relationships, we see that we have these two relationships, one from me to Arya, then from Arya to me. So yeah, let's also delete those because I want to also walk through the project of I want to also reject the friend request. So right now, basically, we are on square one again. If I run the application, and right now I should be logged in as Arya because the cookie is persisted, but I can log out and I can now log in as myself again. So if I log in as myself, you see if I go to my timeline, once again I can see my own pending friend request, but I don't have any, and I see that I have 0 friends. So let's go then to the profile of Arya. And let's send her a friend request. So friend request is sent. Now, if I go here and log out and log in as Arya, then if I go to my timeline, and if I go to pending friend request, we see that we have one, and we see that we also have 0 friends. So what I want to do in this case is just reject that. So I have rejected, and you see that no friend was added. The pending friend request doesn't exist anymore. And if I go to my profile, you see that I still have 0 friends. And yeah, so this means that basically that actually worked. And if we refresh this, we see that in relationships we won't have anything because I have rejected a friend request, so no relationship was created. And here in pending friend requests, it's also empty because yeah, the request was deleted when it was rejected. So that's kind of how this actually works right now. One other thing that I'm still able to do and that I have implemented is that here, if I go under my profile, I have this edit profile button. So if I go to this edit profile button, I see here some basic information about myself that I can maybe change. Let's change the email address. And let's click Save Changes. Yeah, that's true. I don't have any feedback, any banner coming up that the change was saved. But in fact, to check that, we can go to my timeline, and we'll see that if I go on About, the email address is now updated. That is the new email address. And also in this About page, I have added information about to which faculty this user belongs, to which department, and to which class if it is a student, and this is the class of 2018-2023. So yeah, that's actually what I have implemented there. So yeah, this functionality to add or reject friends, then of course the ability to see the friends on the timeline, and also the pending friend requests if you are currently logged in as the user on which profile you currently are. And this basic edit profile functionality The change password functionality is something that worked even before, so it's something that we've done during the previous stream. So that shouldn't be anything new. So yeah, that's currently the state of what I have worked on yesterday and that I was not able to stream. There's some pretty cool stuff going on behind. So yeah, but while working, I also kind of found out different problems that my application currently has, and I also wanted to have a clear look on, okay, what do I really need to do? For those of you who might be new to this stream, the idea is that I have to present a proof of concept of this application with very basic functionality to a university in 2 weeks from now. So that's why I'm currently working on that. And the major problem is that when I started working on this project, it was initially work started before me learning to stream. So that's why when I started to stream the first part in this series, basically you already saw some code. But the idea is that I wanted to go for domain-driven design. And if we look here in the structure of our application, we have, for instance, here this social domain, in which we have, for instance, 2 different aggregates. We define some interfaces. So it's actually everything done according to domain-driven design principles. If we take also a look at our user aggregate, we see that it's actually a rich model, a very rich model. It's not anemic at all. So yeah, we have some properties here, that's correct. But if we go, we have some factories methods, so that how do we create actually a user, and we have a lot of methods, because the whole idea in domain-driven design is that basically all properties needs to be 100% encapsulated. They shouldn't, so nobody from the outside, no consumer of this class or of an object of this type should ever be able to set one of these properties. So that's why everything that is related to behavior for a user, it should be done, or consumers can actually request some behavior changes or request some changes in the state of an object through all the methods that we have here. And we have like here methods for add a student to a department, to add or edit a faculty for the user. We have this add friend to list, remove friend, accept friend request. So you see that all these type of actions that a user is able to perform in some way are actually exposed here through all these methods that we have here on this user aggregate. And the user class is even the aggregate root. So we also use this idea of entities and value objects, which is fundamental in domain-driven design. Like, for instance, all entities have this type of properties, so they should be they should provide a certain type of identifier. We verify for the identifier here to be of type. It could be either int or long or GUID, so we would accept them all. Then value objects, if we go to value objects, those should be in the shared kernel. And shared kernel, what do we have here? Types, and we have value objects. So yeah, we have also a bunch of value objects for which we compute equality, basically based on the fields or based on the properties of those objects. And actually, in order to make the equality as good as possible, actually it's down to each value object itself, so to each class that actually inherits from value object, to implement this where is it to implement this abstract method get atomic values. And if I go on a value object, which name is, for instance, a value object, we see that I have this this implementation of get atomic values, and then I simply here return the first name and the last name. So this means that when we compare to name instances, we will actually look if the first name and the last name are the same. This is actually the only thing that would interest us in this case. So yeah, but then I realized that okay, I don't have time actually to work on this project like 100% domain-driven design, because I should have implemented domain events, domain services, and so on. And time actually was not on my side. So what I ended up doing is I just wanted to add a front end to this backend and just try to stitch the things together and make them work somehow, so that I would be able to present this proof of concept in 2 weeks from now. So that's why in what I develop right now on this project, well, most of the things that I do are not 100% how I would really like to do them. It's well, for a lot of things they are also not following the best practices for programming. But the only reason why this happens is that I really need to get this done very, very fast. So yeah, here I am right now. So to get started, I have created here a list of things that I still want to do to this application to make it actually look okay and feel okay for this proof of concept. And the first thing that kind of really bothered me a lot yesterday, while we work through the different type of components that we have in our application, we see that we constantly need, for instance, we need to check which is actually the authenticated user and which is actually the user for the user profile that I'm currently visiting. Because if those two users are the same, that this means that I'm visiting my own profile. And of course, if I'm visiting my own profile, then I would be able to do different things there, like for instance, view my pending friend requests and things like that. So the problem with that is that what we ended up doing and starting actually from the main layout is that we get actually, or we need to get for the authenticated users or for the authenticated user a lot of values of information from the claims that we actually have in the cookie. And the problem is that I have this kind of code here, this part, which one way or the other is repeated. So I do repeat myself a lot here in the code. Because for instance, if I go on different components like edit profile component, I'm not sure exactly, but here I guess, no, here I don't have this, but there are several different components in which I actually do exactly those things. I just check which, I just check the cookie, what the authenticated user is. Here for instance, I do this once again. Oh, no, here I just update user information. Edit profile cover, that's also not in the left sidebar. It's also not here, but I have a lot of I guess here in the timeline component, this is a place where I check, for instance, once again, okay, which user am I authenticated right now. And yeah, that is really not optimal. So this is why I think what we should do in this application is kind of create like a service that we could call, I don't know, maybe authenticated user context, or we can call it simply AppStateService, because that would actually hold some information about the app that is currently working. And I think that, for instance, in this AppStateService, we could first of all, just to resolve the issues that we have right now, we could first of all get the check for the authenticated user and get the user from the database, so that we have it already there. And whenever I need to display information from the authenticated user, I don't actually need to make another call to the database, which would be very important. But then there is one other functionality that I would like to have there, and then expose methods for consumers to be just able to get the values of certain claims that the user has. So that based on those values, maybe in the components, that then there could be done different things. And then what I could do also is, in this AppStateService, or the authenticated user service, I'm not sure exactly how I should call it, I just also want to add, for instance, things like, okay, posts for the newsfeed that we will generate in some way, or that we will actually, I don't know, compute in some way also with data from the database, but also maybe suggested friends. So users that we want to suggest for a potential friend request. So all those things, I guess, that are actually kind of for the authenticated user are very important, and I guess that we should simply expose this through a service. So yeah. And then once we have that, we have here some functionality on adding and removing friends, and there are some conditions here that are not met yet. For instance, if two users are friends, the add friend button should not be displayed. And in fact, for this one, that's also a place where we can simply check if the authenticated user is friend with the user on which profiles we are right now. And in that case, we can just simply, if they are friends, then the button should be disabled. Or if there is an existing pending friend request to add the friend, then basically the add friend button should once again not be displayed, because in that case I would be able to send the friend request twice or 3 times or 4 times or whatever. So that is also not something that we will need to do. Then in the friend lists button, we should add a button to each friend to allow unfriending, because right now the idea of unfriending somebody is not supported right now. So yeah, but I guess we should go through all these type of steps here. I'll go, I think, one after the other. And yeah, let's work on that. So implement an AppStateService, and yeah, let's for this I will create actually a new folder that I will call core. And here in this core folder, I will put all the cross-cutting concerns for my Blazor app. Right now, the only cross-cutting concern that I have is actually this idea of the application state, or keeping actually track of the authenticated user. And here, let's add that service. Let's add a class. I think I won't use an interface for this one right now, because I surely won't unit test this, and this service is only needed or used in Blazor, so in the front end. So let's call that AppStateService, or not even service, let's call it AppState. Okay, now in this class we'll need probably to do some things. So first of all, we would like to go in startup.cs, and we want to add our service to the dependency injection container, because services add. So if we add scope in server-side Blazor, actually the scope is actually the current circuit that you're building. So for the current signal R connection, the scope would behave actually like a singleton for a real MVC application, which is actually not necessarily bad. So we'll add it as scoped, and we'll call it AppState, of course, because that's the service that we actually want to add right now. And yeah, basically that's it. I don't see that if we need something else. Maybe if we find out that we maybe need some I don't know, maybe some options that we want to pass in when we want to add this service, then we'll be able to add this later. But for now, it's just added to the dependency injection container. Now, what I want to do in this AppStateService is, where am I? Where is the core folder? Here. So of course I would like to have a constructor, because in this service would have some dependencies, and one of them would be private read-only authentication state provider. This is a service that it's actually already provided by Blazor, so we don't have to register it separately. But then what I would also need is a private read-only user repository. Okay, and let's call this users. Okay, for now I guess these are the dependencies that I would need. And here then I would authentication state provider. Let's call it out, and we need the I user repository. Okay, and in the constructor, let's just assign them. Users equals repo. Okay, so that's actually what I need right now in the constructor. So the first functionality that I want to move in this AppStateService would first of all offer the option to get all the claims for the user, and to actually expose methods to return the value of each particular claim, because consumers like components might want to know, okay, what is the name claim for the user, what is the username claim for the user, what is the user type claim, but they want only one of it or maybe two, so they don't need all the claims together. And I want to move all this idea of processing the claims out from the component logic and move it here actually in this app state. So what we'll end up doing, I guess, and by the way, thank you very much for joining. I'm really happy that there are people Saturday morning that are willing to watch me coding. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get started. Where did we have a component? I guess it was in the timeline in which we actually used the authentication state to get this type of information. Yeah, so it's actually this type of logic that we want to get. So here we have the username that we actually get from the claims, but let's first just maybe look into what claims we actually put on the cookie. And we define this in the login. So when we log in a user, we put these claims. We put the name, we put the email, the username, and the user type. So yeah, those claims should be then returned probably in our service. So let's actually do that then. Where are we? Okay, this application has grew a bit right now. It's not easy anymore to navigate here. The edit profile, that's not something that interests me right now. The pages, that doesn't interest me either for now. The shared, the shared, we have here some logic, for instance, for the user, where we get the username and the name. Okay, so let's maybe try Let's try to start from here. So let's maybe just expose a method. So that method would be a private one that would just return me the claims actually. And then we would have public methods that, based on that list of claims, would be able to just return what I actually need. It is a server-side Blazor. Thank you very much for asking. And the reason why it is a server-side Blazor is because I didn't have the time to basically write a whole new API layer, only that Blazor WebAssembly has some endpoints to talk to. So yeah, this is why I used Blazor server in this case. Okay, so let's actually try to move that away from here, and let me just copy that one for now, and let's move back to the app state. And here let's create a private method for now. Private, how should it be called? How should it be called? Static. Get all available claims. Okay, and here of course we would have to return something from it. Sorry, so it's a list of claim. We will just return a list of claim, and maybe, I guess, I guess that should be, maybe somebody wants to just look at the claims. So why shouldn't we give that opportunity? So let's just create a property here, and that property would be public. It would be a list of claim. Authenticated user user claims, because we also want to make sure that and we also make this a private set. And actually, to be sure that no consumer will ever add claims to my list, that's actually, it's not enough to make it private, because if the setter is private, consumers could still go like authentication user claims.add, and that would work. So that's not something that I would like to have. So in that case, the way to do that is expose that property via a private field. So I would have here, for instance, private, that would be not read-only, it would be a list of claim, and it would be called authenticated user claims. Okay, and we can even maybe create a new list of claim that by default doesn't have any claim in it. So this is one option to go, and then we expose this property here not like a list but like an IEnumerable. And if we expose it like an IEnumerable, then consumers cannot simply go authenticated user claims.add. So they wouldn't be able to add to that list or remove something to that list, which is actually exactly what I want, because this AppState class should be the only one to decide when something needs to be added or when something needs to be removed. So yeah, this and then we have, of course, to implement this. Actually, we don't even need to implement a setter at all here. We just need to implement a getter, and it would be get, and it would be return authenticated user claims. So that should actually do it. And what we could do here is actually then maybe in the constructor, because in the constructor we already have this, and we can say that authenticated user claims equals get all available claims. Okay, so now if we copied that code over from the layout, you remember. So the first thing that we need to do is to get the auth state, and we get this auth state from our auth field, which is the authenticated state provider. And this should be, in this case, this should be async task of list of claim, because we need to do this asynchronously. Okay, so what do we have here as a problem? So auth, which reference required to be a non-static field, method, or property AppState auth. Okay, I understand. So let's make it right now. Let's make it this static for now. So this should work. Then we get the currently authenticated user. And for this authenticated user, we can just return the claims. So I won't just delete that, because I probably reuse part of that code in some place else. But what we could do here, we can return user.claims. Okay, what is the cannot please convert from the system collection IEnumerable claim. Let's check the types. So we have here a list of claim. Okay, I guess it's not a list. That was the problem. So yeah, right now I guess that it should be okay, I guess. Good. Let's go then one step further. So right now, but then, okay, then we have here this problem with the outstated static read-only field cannot be assigned in a static constructor. Yeah, that's kind of a strange thing, because I wouldn't really like to make everything static right now. But on the other hand, I don't know, maybe if you have ideas, I will be open to them. So the problem is here that, but why make this static? We can simply not make that static at all, so that should actually work, I guess. Okay, and then let's see what problems do we have. So this is an async. Oh my god, and this okay, but then I can say here wait. Okay, but why? And simply convert for type void. What is the problem here? So this is a list of claim, that's for sure. But if we do this in the constructor, we don't really need to create a new list here, because the list will be created here. Then the wait, well, they just don't like it. Of course, then in this case we just return a task. And I wouldn't like to make my constructor async. That's why static. I kind of removed the static. I don't have any static anymore. Because I also don't like to use static things, but the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the error was let's make that static. But then I removed the static, so I don't have anything static right now. I think you need to use the auth to get state and then authenticate your claims to list. Okay. But is not this exactly what I'm doing? Yeah, that is right now the problem, because we need to do some asynchronous stuff. Asynchronous in the constructor get awaitable claims is async. It has an awaiter, that's of course, but get result should maybe, I guess that could work, I guess. And you know what, I guess we can already test that. I guess we can already test this. Let's just run the application, because when it runs, it will try to resolve the service, and we'll see if everything is okay with it. What you do in the get await claims can be done. Just 1 second. Okay, so in this case, okay, because so that happened because if I actually don't I registered it as scope, so if it wasn't needed, it was not used. Let me see, get awaitable. So what you do in the get awaitable claims can be done in the constructor to instantiate it. I don't like to put logic in the constructor. It's maybe a personal thingy, but I don't really like to do that. So in the constructor, I just want to do assignments to fields or things like that. If for those assignments I need to do some complex stuff or add some logic, then I simply like to do it via private methods. I'm not sure if that's maybe the best approach, but I'm sure it's not the worst either. But I don't like to put logic in the constructor at all. And further, the idea is that this method for get claims probably will be able to reuse it at some point, maybe internally or something like that. Maybe create a non-async get awaitable claims too. I guess we can't really. So I'm not sure, because I'm not really an expert on this authentication state provider service. But as far as I know, this get authentication state is only exposed as an async method from this service, which comes from Blazor. So I'm not sure we can really. Okay, we could actually do to expose it and do it like that, so that we do not async and await. Yeah, that could be something. Indeed. Yeah. Let me then, for now, let me go to the news feed, because what I want to do to the news feed is I would like in the newsfeed component, so it's basically the home page here, I would like to inject, and I would like to inject AppState. And by injecting this AppState, I should be this one should be actually constructed, and I should be able to actually go here and see exactly if I really get the claims. This work, but asynchronous is not good. Okay. But so make it totally synchronous is not possible, at least in this case right now, because we have 4 claims. That's correct. Because this get all get authentication state async on it's basically exposed only as an async method as far as I know. So this means that we either have async or await, or we just get await or get result. So there is actually not. I don't see how we could do this asynchronously when the service that we actually use for that is async. I'm not sure how we can bypass that. Okay, I think that's fine now. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your feedback. All of you, thank you very much for your feedback. It's good that when I have somebody to challenge what we're doing here, then it will result probably in a way better application, I would say. Okay, so now I have the claim. So this is one important thing, but then maybe I just want to create public methods for consumers to just be able to get I don't know, the value of the name claim, or something like that. This is something like pair programming, or that's something like that. That's correct. So I think I would like to expose some public methods here that consumers or components could use to get only specific claims that they need, or the values of those claims. So the way I see that is that components shouldn't actually be aware of this idea of how claims look, how they are calculated, how you should get the value of a claim. The controller should only say to the AppStateService, hey, what is the value of the name claim? And the state service should say this is the value, and that's basically it. So I would say that I would have a public, what it would return. It would return a string, and let's call it get name claim value. So in this case, what we need to do is something like that. Let's uncomment it first, and let's just cut it out from here. Okay, so we have this name claim we get, but right now we can get this actually either from the property, but we can get this, we can get that from this authenticated user claims. Let's authenticated user claims first or default. Then of course here we don't need this entire naming. Okay, and then we don't actually we don't want to assign it to something that doesn't really interest us. We just want to return it. Okay, good. Then the other claim that we have is for the username. So it would be public string get username claim value. And here that would be something similar to this one, but it would be called username, and we just use the username to return the value. And of course in this case is the claim type should be equal to, I guess that for this one we have no, I don't think we have it, so I guess it's a custom claim that we created actually, so we can do that. But let's check this to just make sure that that it's correct. So on the login where we actually create the claims, yes, this is a custom and it's exactly like this one. Then we have the user type and the email, and the user type is also custom. Okay, so let's do just that. Where am I? Here. So yeah, that should get then the username claim, and we return the value. Then we would have similarly a public string get user type claim value, and we will do here some similar stuff. Okay, now that in this case we check for the user type, let's make sure that we spell it the same way. So it should be the user type, and let's call it user type. Okay, and we return the user type.value. Okay, and then last but not least, what we still have here is the get email address, public string. Okay, but why? So it should be just a simple string return type, get email address or get email claim value, and here it will be actually similar, but in this case we'll actually look for the claim. And here this one is a default type, so it would be claim types, and email. Okay, and what I can do right now is actually hello. Thank you very much for joining, everybody. It's actually nice to see so many people here. Thank you very much. How are you today? How do you feel this Saturday morning? Or I don't know, it's morning. Well, it's actually already noon also at my place. By the way, where are you watching from? From which country? That would be nice to know. Some of you I already know. I know that I guess we have somebody from South Africa here. But it would be really cool if you could share where are you watching from. It's almost 9 a.m. here in Iceland. Oh, thank you very much, Iceland. That's a country that I want to visit sometime, but not in the winter, of course. But that's definitely on my to-do, on my wish list. It's Iceland. I think it's great. Almost 11 a.m. So 11 a.m. Where? So it's probably something like CET. Sweden. Oh my God, Sweden. Okay. That's actually nice. Sweden. I worked with some Swedish clients or Swedish customer. They were very, very nice guys. So I really enjoyed Swedes a lot. And Romania, yeah, thank you. I'm basically I'm from Romania, so I'm streaming from Romania. So yeah, Iran. Oh my God, that's I guess it's what's the time there in Iran? What's the time actually in Iran? Badly. Yeah. Let's go back to programming. But thank you very much, guys, for being here. Thank you very much. That's kind of nice that we actually hang out together. So yeah, let's go then one step further. And what we should do right now, it's a task that well, it's maybe not that exciting, but it actually needs to be done. But before we actually do that, let's do one more thing. There is one other thing that I want to do is, I would like to get the entire user information for the authenticated user, because that could prove useful. Because in that entire information, because right now I have about the authenticated user, I just have some claims. But the authenticated user has also maybe important things associated to it, like for instance the pending friend requests. So that would be actually important to know how many friend requests or pending friend requests there are. The authenticated user has already some friends in it. And if we are on the timeline of the authenticated user, then we shouldn't actually go to the database and fetch those once more, because we have that information already here in the app state. So I would like to really do just that. But in order to do that, I would say let's do that here, I guess. And that's also an async because it comes from the repository, but it's not the users. Actually, I need a new property for that. I need actually a new property. Public. It should be of type user. Authenticated user. Get. And it would have a private setter, so that we can't just simply set any type of details. We can make a method get current user. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking to do. But I guess that this one can actually be done with a single call to the repository. So I don't think that I want to expose that as a property, not to already have it there. So to get it once when the application starts up, and then to always have it there, and maybe update it only when we see that that components make updates to that user. But otherwise, we just make this one call, so we shouldn't do this repeatedly. So this way, I would like to expose it via a property, and then I would say that this property. Let's see if we can do that. authenticated user, it would be equal to users get, and we can use this get user by username async, because here in this method we actually in the repository we get also all the information that we actually should include, like pending friend requests and friends and things like that. And to actually do that, we can simply pass in the get name claim value, and then we can see here get waiter, get result. Okay, so this means that starting now we would actually have the authenticated user, or all the information about the authentication user, the authenticated user here in this property. Let's see, you can type proper declaration properties. Yes, I know, and I can type CTR for constructor, and I can type if and double tab for having the if, and so on. But I don't know, it's not something that I usually do. It's yeah, I just like it to write it. I don't know why. Okay, so I guess that you like to that you like to use those shortcuts. Why do you like to use those shortcuts? Because I can't really explain why I like to type everything. And it's better like this for beginners. They will understand better. Yeah, okay. Time saving. How much time do you really save? Because you still then have to tap tab every time to go for the next thing that you have to add it to the property. I'm not sure that for the properties that there's something really that you really save time on that. But yeah, it could be. Okay, let me just check again, because what I want to see here is let me put a breakpoint. I just want to make sure that that this actually works and that I have the authenticated user, and then we can basically try to go through all the components and yeah, see actually wherever we use the authentication state provider, we can just remove the dependency and use the application state instead to actually perform everything that we actually want. So let's see. Oh, why does it take so long this time? Because it doesn't seem like I've hit a breakpoint. I don't see any errors being here. So I'm not sure exactly what happens. So no error is thrown, nor no breakpoint is hit, but still, because if the application is not able to resolve some dependencies or things like that, then it should actually just throw an error. It usually throws an error. It's not that it's just blocked. Let's just try again. Maybe clear the cache. Okay. But the cache here does. I use prop when I know exactly what I need to faster, but for other things I don't use it. Okay. Okay, thank you very much for sharing that. So let's try to find out exactly what actually happens here. Okay, so they loaded the .NET Core app, Uniconnect. Actually, there's not a lot of things. It's just waiting for localhost. It's just not responding. Let me maybe try one other thing. Let me just comment this out for now. Let me just comment this out, because it could be that there is however a problem with resolving the dependent services, and in this case my guess would be maybe the user repository. I don't know. okay, because right now we hit that breakpoint. That's okay. So it means that that this users getting the user had a problem. And yeah, indeed, if I put the breakpoint here, or I don't know, here, we'll see that that we probably get into the constructor, but something happens with the call to the database, I guess. So let me just check. Maybe it's waiting something. A breakpoint in the new method. I think right now I'll see if we hit this breakpoint and then it stops. Then I guess I'll go to put some breakpoints in the repositories to see exactly what actually happens there. And here it actually fails. So let me go to the repository and try to understand what maybe happens there. So get user by username async, which would be this one. So let's put a breakpoint here and see what it happens. If it arrives there, but it arrived there. So something happened here, but I'm not sure what, because this method works. It's actually used in all the components. It's actually used in all the components. It's actually used in all the components. Get name claim is asynchronous and repository is asynchronous. Yes, that's true. They are. So no, it kind of fails there, or I don't know. Maybe I don't have the correct username. Let's check the username. Okay, it's not the username. That's the bad thing. Okay, let's I think I did it wrong here, because I get name claim value. It's not game. Get username claim value. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. I'm so stupid. There were actually no errors because it's tried to get the user, but it didn't find it, so it just, well, returned null. So that was actually the problem. So let's try again. Once again, put a breakpoint here, because I got actually the name instead of the username, and the username is what I actually needed. So let's just run it again. Let's just run it again. So it starts this time. I want to bring the browser here, but where is the breakpoint? Kind of still doesn't work. It actually still doesn't work. Okay, but now it still doesn't work. Let me get user by username. The problem is surely still here. Let me check if I have everything right here in this repository. When can you show a little where you initialize the services in startup? Yeah, I will do. Just in a second. Just in a second. Okay, so we get here a start. So this is actually the correct username. So what happens here? Let me get user friends. Let me put a breakpoint on the next line actually. So yeah, something's not right here, because this is exactly the method that it works in a lot of other places. So right now I get the correct correct username in there, but I kind of don't find users. Let me okay, we wanted to show you the startup. Here's the startup. So we added the DB context, we had the repository for the user, the HTTP context accessor we need in the Blazor pages for which where we perform login and logout, and then we add this app state. But this app state can actually be. I don't think that this solves the problem. But this actually can be a singleton service. Because that, or no, it can't be. It can't be, because this is still server-side. It means that it will be one single instance for each type of service. No, it should be scoped. It should be scoped, of course. It should be scoped, of course. Yeah, let's, I don't know. Where is it, this app state? So we have this get user name async, get user by username async. So we provide the name value, then we await the result. So the problem is that I don't know, something happens here, and basically this one. So instead of going further here, it simply Insider maybe after call get name need to get wait and get result. Didn't I do that? You mean for this one? Okay, yeah, that's oh my god, yeah. Get wait, not get enumerator, get but no, because this get username claim value, this is actually, no, this is not an async one. And in fact the username is correctly. So in the repository we got the correct username. So I guess that I'm not sure exactly what happens in not sure what happens. Let me just I don't know, look a little bit in the database. Let me just look in the users. It's this username. It's this username. That should be okay. Can I check the username again? Yeah. So it's A Stark. It's actually exactly what we get here in the repository. But something's very fishy here. I don't understand exactly what. Because as I said, this method is used actually a lot of times. In most of the components we have this method that is used. So it's A Stark, it's exactly the username that we actually need. So if we click on continue, we don't even hit the other breakpoint, which is very curious. It's kind of like, I don't know, simply like it simply doesn't work. But no error, nothing at all. That's really strange. We have something here in its logs. Hosting environment. No error, nothing. Let me maybe just try it again. Let me check exactly what we have here. So the username is okay. Here CTX users, and this we have still this exact same. Okay, it's the same context actually. Count. So we have the context that it should actually look okay. We have a user that is null, and we have this one. Let me I don't know, maybe what was that? Your step into a request resulted in an automatically step over of a property operator. Yes. Then it's again the same thing. It's simply I don't know. I am baffled. Comment line 201 and 202. You mean here? Okay. So you mean maybe the includes? But I guess that those would work. Let me try to do a different thing. It's actually checking exactly the same thing, but I will go to AppState and I will comment actually these two out right now, because when I go to the timeline, this exact method will be called again, because from there is actually where I get right now the information about the user. So if I run the application right now, we should hit those breakpoints again. And then we can see exactly what we actually, or what the problem is with this specific user. Okay, so okay, yeah, we hit that breakpoint, but that's not interesting us right now, so we just go continue. So we logged in as this user, and if we go to the timeline, we should actually hit the exact same. You see, we hit the exact same thing here. And if we go with F10, you see that we got the user in this case with all that information. So in this case, we actually got the user, and it's exactly the same method. Then we get the friend separately, which is done. So in this case, the user has also friends, if it has friends, but right now I guess it's 0. So in this case, you see that it's exactly the same method that we actually call, and this time it actually works. Right now it has all the information, but what? Because it's actually the exact same thing that we do. It's the only problem is, or the only thing is, where we actually do that. So I guess that this is actually the only problem. Does the context has users? Yes, it has. We just used it. We just saw it actually. Because the problem is only if we try to do this here in this constructor. So if we want to use the repository here, then it kind of fails in the constructor. But let me I don't know if I really don't know if that really helps, or I don't believe that it helps. But let me be private. Yeah, we should not make it async. So private user. So it should return a user, and it should be a get logged in user, and here I would have our username equals get username claim value. Get username claim value, that should be the correct one. And then I would say for user equals, and let's say here users dot get user username async, and let's make it username. So I tried to move everything actually in a different method. Get waiter, get result. And then I would simply want to return the user. Oh, sorry. Again, it's just a test that I want to make, and what I would do here is then here not use directly the repository. Now, of course, let's uncomment that, and so not use the repository here, but instead just call this get logged in user. And the async stuff is actually done here, and then the logged in user it should be there. Let me put a breakpoint here, and let me put a breakpoint here, and we have also one breakpoint in the repository. So I don't know, let's try again. I'm not sure if, because theoretically this should be exactly the same thing, only that we have offloaded it to a method. Yeah, let's see. So we get into this one. If we go continue, we should go into this one. If we have hit F10, we get the username, and the username is correct. And if we hit continue, then yeah, it's exactly the same problem. Then it's exactly the same problem. It's exactly the same problem. So yeah, that didn't help a lot. I don't know. Let me try something else. It's just right here, right now, trial and error. I don't really understand what happens. But let me here. If I inject this AppStateService, I don't know. Let's actually this auth service. Let's make it. We don't need it anymore because we will use the AppState in order to handle this type of things. So on initialized async, we can remove a lot of things here, and the name is actually, we can use this AppState.get where is it? Get this should be the name. Get name claim value, and here for the username claim, for the username we just get the username claim value. And just by using this AppStateService, we removed a lot of code from this component. So get user is on AppState, of course. Get name claim value. But it's the username that we need here, so it's this one. So we actually, what we did here, and right now this is actually not async anymore. So we can even change that and say that it's override void, and it's on initialized in this case, without the async at the end, and I guess it should actually work the same. So let me just try, because I thought maybe there were some, I don't know, problems having the authentication state provider both here and both in the AppState or something like that. I was thinking maybe the context isn't populated when you try to get the user. What do you mean the context needs to get the user? So basically it fails when it needs to populate it. So when it needs to talk to the database actually. Let's see if this actually changed something. I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of conflict between different services. I don't know if that's a use case. Oh yeah, we go here, then we go here, and then if we go continue, yeah, nothing happens. Exactly the same thing. It's essentially exactly the same thing. And when we change that very simple stuff, like if we don't want to do that here, if we don't want to do this here, but you said something with is the context populated. Yeah, that's kind of when you use Blazor, that this whole idea of service lifecycles is a little bit different. Yeah, into users we've looked a lot, but I think we'll look again. Yeah, here we have all this, so it actually worked. So we will look again into users, but that's exactly where we looked a lot. So let me go back to this get user by username async, and let's put once again a breakpoint here, and let's evaluate the context then better, like you said. I now had the same issues. Okay, but users actually is actually only pointing to this repository. So it's so you mean that the service is resolved because I have it. So I reached the repository itself. So I actually reached the DAL layer. It's actually at the DAL layer that it actually fails. So the service is resolved correctly. This one at least. I'm not sure about. I guess we'll look into the DB context right now. When we debug, of course, to see exactly, you know, maybe something's wrong there. Okay, so where are we right now? We are right now in this context. Okay, let's maybe go. I just like it to look it up maybe here directly. So we have this context that is set to our field. So our context, it has an ID. It knows about the database. It knows about the model. It has the builder and everything. So for me, the context, and it has this user, a DB set, which of course right now is of count 0, because we haven't got any users so far. But I would say that the DB context is all right. Am I wrong? Do you have a command prompt up? I don't have it, but. We could I don't know, try to do that. So it's actually when I want to do this first or default async. It's then something happens. Is the in I71, can we after get result call await and then get result? Then you are using the CTX, but it has no users. Yeah, of course it has no users right now, because it's actually so the context doesn't load your entire database in your context when it starts. It's logical. It just has a DB set that is right now with 0 users, but that's expected to get a user there. Okay, Yeah, but because this, when I say this first or default async, it should go to the database and get the user from there. So you say that the context should have values here, should already have a list. I don't know. Let's just test it. We can, we can just try it out, because we know that it works if we remove this this line here, and we can look it up how the DB context looks right now. So yeah, let's run it. But I guess that's actually expected, I would say. I don't know. It's my my guess. But did I remove the breakpoint? I should go to the, if I go to the timeline. Okay, so we are here again. So let me look into that. So we have users, and still 0, because of course that's I would say the expected behavior for Entity Framework Core, because otherwise it would mean that it has to load all your users from the database, and that would be a problem. So this this makes right now the call to the database. Okay, so it's exactly the same, and we have then this user, so everything goes fine if we do it that way. But if we then have the app state, then well, things are not quite fun anymore. I'm really not sure about what the problem could be in this case. I guess maybe we have to skip this somehow, but I really need to get this authenticated user. I really need to have this as a property in the claim, so that's kind of strange. That's kind of strange. But one other thing that I think of, so when it tries to go to the news feed, I think, so when it tries to go to the news feed, I think we might have even a problem with concurrencies here. It's just a hunch. So when it tries to go to the news feed, right now we have only the app state here, and you have this name and this username. Newsfeed component. Left sidebar component. We have the username and the name. And we get this, can we? In line 71, can we after get result call await and get result? 71 in which file do you mean? In the app state or in the repository? What do you mean? What would be, let's see, I guess we don't have 71 lines. Oh yeah, we have. Okay. So here you want to get result. Can we after get result call await and get result? What do you mean? Once again await? But that's actually not possible. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Because this is actually a real user object, so it's all the information about the user. So we can't really, it's already the result. Can you please maybe just try to explain me just a little bit more what you would like to do? Because after get result, what we have here is actually a user. Or maybe entity framework core has a problem with this whole idea of get await or get result. I don't know. That's another hunch. Let's try it like that. Async task of user. Let's try it like that actually. Let's await. Maybe entity framework core has a problem with that one. So in this case, it's just like that. And in that case, what we can do here is in the constructor, get awaiter and get result. Sorry. Okay, so we have a breakpoint here. Let's test it once again. Let's just test it once again. That's a very curious problem. I guess that's worth investigating a little bit more afterwards, and yeah, maybe also blogging about it, because I think that's a fairly cool problem. So I get into the user here, which is okay. Let's see what happens in this case. It's exactly the same as previously. So it's exactly the same behavior, even if we do it like that. I really don't have any idea about why is that happening. There is one other thing that I might want to try out is the problem is when you already go to the newsfeed component or try things like that, or to the timeline, there are already things that are done there that might use the database or things like that. So what I was thinking right now, just let's say to try it out again, is to go actually in this main layout that gets actually rendered right at the beginning of the entire application, and let's here remove this. Let's remove here this authentication state provider, and we'll replace it with the app state. App state. Okay, so you don't know exactly where to look into it, going to look for it. Then in that case, we will go in this imports.razor, and we'll have a using for uniconnect.web.core, and that should do it for that problem. So let's go back to the main layout, and yeah, right now it should work. And let's replace everything that we have here or that uses the auth state. So here for the auth state, we just get the authentication async, so we actually don't need this anymore. So the only things that we populated here was, let me just maybe take those out and just here we see if user identity is authenticated. Yeah, maybe that's another thing that we could expose here. If the user is authenticated, then we have this else. Okay. So yeah, let's create also in the app state a new property, public bool but you know, we can check if the authenticated user is not null. Then it actually means that the user is authenticated. So we don't really need to expose anything else right now, because I think we could still do the if check, something like that. So if, sorry for all the typos, so we can say here if AppState user, and we have to check it like that because we have overridden the equality operator. So in this case I would say that we will put this in here like that, and we have to negate it. So if the AppState, what's the problem with AppState does not exist in the current context? Okay, because I have typos, of course, and that's like that. So if AppState user is not null and it's authenticated, so if the authenticated user is not null, then in that case we will simply only go and perform this type of logic, because otherwise we just want to navigate to the login page. Yeah, that's correct. It was the authenticated user. Now the only thing that things that we don't need anymore is we don't need that, because here the name we can simply use the AppState for that. Get where is it? This should be the name. Get name claim value. And then for the username, that's exactly the same. We don't need that anymore because we can just call that method on AppState. Get username. Where is the username? Here is the username, and then we compute, of course, the edit file that we need, and that's it. Then log out and navigate. Yeah, that's actually then everything. And on initialized async. So right now, once again, also this one is not async anymore, so we can just override. It would be void, and it's the simple on initialized. Okay, so my idea is that right now the user should already be loaded when the layout is actually generated, and that would mean that afterwards no request would even be made to the database from the AppState. And I'm not sure exactly if this solves some problems, but I would definitely like to get it, or to give it a try. Let's see. Let's see. So what do we have? Don't we have a breakpoint in the repository? Don't we have a breakpoint here? No, we don't. But yeah, that's it's the same problem right now. So that didn't really help a lot. So it was context, users, and first or default async. So it's here actually where it fails again. I don't know, should we maybe have a problem with the services lifetimes in Blazor applications? Should that maybe be the case? Let me, I don't know. Blazor server service life cycle. But that's the Blazor lifecycle. That doesn't really help me at all. Yeah, these are the lifecycle methods for Blazor. That's actually not what I but now I recall something. But what we have here is actually not ASP.NET Core dependency injection. Service lifetimes in Blazor. Chris Sainty, but it's very old article. But he's very good with Blazor. So singleton scope services are created once in the same instances used to fulfill every request for the lifetime of the application. Yeah, scoped services are created once per request. That's correct, but that's for ASP.NET Core. Difference between behavior and dependency injection lifetimes in client side. That's also okay in server side Blazor. Okay, let me see. Singleton service, scope service, transient service. Okay, so in Blazor. Singleton service, scope service, transient. Navigate to counter. So in server-side Blazor, have a fresh new app registering all the services with the service container. Okay, let's up and test, see what it gets. Okay, but right now just for some GUIDs I don't really get a lot. First glance looks like the same as the Blazor app. We are getting the same singleton instance across both pages and different transient instances. We are also getting the same scoped instance across pages just as we saw previously. I guess this isn't really a surprise. After all, client side and server side are just different hosting models for the same framework. Just for the first two tests, but the scope service are different. Unlike client side Blazor, server side Blazor lives on the server. Well, almost. When user loads a server side Blazor application, singular connection is established. Yeah, that's correct. That's called a circuit right now, and the client has server scope. Scoped services are scoped to this connection. Yeah, that's correct. So this means then basically, as long as my connection is the same, all the services, even if they are scoped, I guess that could be a problem, because startup.cs, because so I have this user repository that is scoped. So that means that as long as I have a connection with Signal R, I would actually inject the same repository. It's exactly the same instance in all the components that I needed, and also in the AppStateService. And that would mean then if I inject it also in other components, I guess I can have problems with concurrencies. And actually that's a very cool thing to note. But I guess I need to investigate this for a little bit longer, because I think that what we should do is probably expose the repository actually only through this AppStateService. So in that case, I would not inject in each component where I need the repository. I wouldn't do that. And in fact, if I think better, if you're using NJRX in Angular, you don't actually need your data layer anymore, because all fetching the data or things like that are done via that NJRX. Because then this app state should kind of like become the central part for state management in our application. So I guess that could be one thing. Okay, Guys, I think that that's actually the part where I would have to stop for now. I will investigate this thing for a little bit longer. I will test around, and then probably I'll come back to stream maybe later today. But I really thank you very much for watching and for getting engaged in the chat. That was actually very important for me. In line 24 of get user friend in user repository, become get await and get result. I wouldn't really want to change that. I just want to keep it. So I don't want to change the things in the repositories that should normally work. Only that because the front end has a problem with it. But you don't even get. The problem in the repository is that you don't even get there. If we recall, so if we run it, we can certainly do that. There's no problem. But we had 2 breakpoints. The idea is that this second breakpoint, this is never hit, so you never get to execute this method at all. So you say that you just don't want to use the await here and just use the get await or get result. So this is what you were suggesting. I guess this. So is this what you were suggesting? Or here? So what? Or maybe put a. Okay, let's just try it out maybe. And yeah, I am a dev, but I'm trying out Blazor right now, so I'm trying to build a real project using only Blazor, which yeah comes with challenges, of course, because yeah, Blazor is still fairly new, I would say, and of course when you try to build real applications, so not just a weather forecast service and a counter, you get some challenges. So you see that it's exactly the same problem. So we don't even hit the same breakpoint. Everything goes I don't know, goes lost in some kind of nirvana, basically here, and with no error, basically with nothing. We don't even hit this second breakpoint. So that really doesn't change a lot. I still think that I might have some problems here with concurrencies, because we reject actually the same instance of the same repository in different components, and maybe they try to do the different operations at the same time or something like that. So that might be a problem. So yeah, this is why I think I will have to investigate this just a little bit. Yeah, I'll come back to streaming probably today. So once again, thank you very much for joining. Please follow me, because I would be glad to get in touch with you again when I stream again, or maybe today or the coming days. That was a really great experience, both for me. So yeah, please stay tuned. The problem with concurrently is what I solved by using transient. Yeah, but transient, yeah, that's but then you know what the problem with transient is? Transient is not per request. Transient is when actually that service is needed somewhere. The problem is that if you have 2 users that are connected at the same time, they will use both the same transient service. So that would actually leak information about user A to user B, or vice versa, if you make it transient. Because if you want to have it per request, only that the idea of request doesn't really exist here in Blazor, is that scoped, and scoped is actually scoped to the current SignalR connection to a browser. So using transient won't really solve the problem, or maybe it would get it going, but that's surely a bad thing. Because imagine you have 10 users that are connected at the same time to your application, the transient service would actually use the same instance probably. So transient, I guess it's really not a good idea. It should be the scoped somehow. We should be able to scope the service somehow to only the current circuit or for only one circuit, so that you create a new instance for each circuit that you have. So basically for each user that is connected to your server. Yeah. Okay. So I promise I'll look into this, and I'll come back. I'll come back to this, and yeah, hope to see you there. Thank you very much for watching, and I really wish you a very good day. So bye.